Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Lucas Chaffee, 20 miles north of New York City. I'm an open space facilitator and a software engineer building Keiko Chat. And this is a tool built for facilitators to run different types of events. We try to make it as agnostic to different processes as possible. So we don't make it all the choices, instead we make it configurable. So today we're gonna go through an open space event that's happening now. It's called the Internet Identity Workshop. To set the context, they've been meeting for the last 15 years in person every 6 months. It's a very vibrant community. So they were able to do a very advanced open space because they've been meeting in open space for the last 15 years. Here's my screen. And in terms of a quick orientation, right now we're all inside Zoom and we got there through Keiko Chat. So on the left-hand side, we have the main room. That's where everybody arrived. And on the top, you see join video for the main room, and that's going to launch Zoom. We all got here that way. And then we can also take notes here. I'm going to post this here just in case people have a lot of questions. I'm going to say questions. I often will say two things when I start these events. I'll say, who is here? And just to kick it off and make it interactive from the very beginning, I let people type their name. And you're welcome to do that. And then also, if you have some questions, I'm going to paste this down below. Feel free to ask your questions and we'll make sure that we get them answered. Zoom is in front of Keiko Chat. So you either have to move them to the side or one in front of another. But this is a good number of people, so you'll all be able to get your questions answered. So we're in this Keiko Chat. It's like open space, but it's very simple and it's created automatically in 30 seconds. You type in the name of the event, you type in the start time, and you click create. And you instantly have a main room, all these breakout rooms, and each breakout room has an Etherpad, which is an open source and simple tool for people taking notes. Now we're gonna look at this live event right here called the Open Space Workshop, number 30. For the Internet Identity Workshop, Open Space Workshop. So here are their sponsors. They've got some fantastic sponsors. It's because they've got such momentum in their community. On the right-hand side, you could see that there's 256 people that are in the conference right now. And you could see who's on Zoom video and who is not. Scroll down a little bit and you'll see who's not on Zoom video. It's these people down here. And then scroll down further, you'll see who RSVP'd. So 347 RSVPs. This is day 3. So things are working pretty well, so that's why I'm able to just take a step back and share what is happening here with others. I got permission of Heidi, who's a good friend, to record this so that other people can see the design that we came up with and other people can innovate and make their own open space events on Keiko Chat. So we're gonna go into the event. This is the RSVP page, and people were RSVP'd automatically when they signed up and paid on Eventbrite. So all the money that this facilitator and this team of facilitators collected went directly through Eventbrite. It didn't come through Keiko. They set their price, and they set the price high because it is an in-person event that at the last minute had to move online. So we click participate now, and you land in the opening circle. So you see something familiar because it's a picture of their opening circle from 6 months ago. On the right-hand side, you've got a Google Doc that shows all the announcements for the opening circle and really the whole event. So there's a lot on the screen, takes a moment to get adjusted, but all right, you see a similar structure to the event that all of us joined that I showed a moment ago, which was very bare bones here, but now Heidi made it quite advanced, and we'll take a look. So here's the announcements. On the left-hand side, you see all the breakout rooms. We could scroll down, you could see all the different breakout rooms people are meeting in. There's a bunch of people in B, there's a bunch of people in C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. So it's a very big event with a lot of breakout spaces. To manage that, she chose to use a Google Sheet, which is like an Excel spreadsheet, but online that multiple people can edit at the same time. There's a max of 75 people that can edit a Google Sheet at the same time. So to get around that, she and I worked together to create 2 tabs. So if you want to edit this one that maybe 250 people are looking at right now, you go over here, click edit, make your change, and then it's going to be updated immediately on this other day 3 view tab. So that's how we were able to get around that limitation. There's this import range function for folks that like Excel functions. That's what we use to update one immediately from the other. And I wouldn't throw you into that on your own. I'm here to help you with that. You can always ask. I'm lucas@keikochat.com, phone number 917-528-1831. You'll all get a recording of what we're talking about here, so you don't have to remember everything that you're seeing. So this is the structure of the event. We try to be pretty minimalist with open space. You set the contacts with a photo. You have the opening session. Let's see down here. We're on day 3, Thursday. And we're looking for the opening session. These times are in Pacific. So the opening session started actually after day 2 sessions ended. Because it's an international audience, some of the sessions from yesterday were happening still this morning. So I'm looking for the opening circle. Starts, I think it started right here at 11 a.m. Pacific. This is where she started. So we took opening circle out and just put the sessions right in. So people filled this in automatically. It populated from the editable sheet. You can see just a ton of sessions. And on the right-hand side, I have to move Zoom out of the way. They have one more column here that they will track, did they get notes? So we'll take a look at day 2. Agenda day 2 is over here. This is how they track, did they get notes? Oh, I guess they've removed that. They already have all the notes from day 2, so they aren't tracking that anymore. So where do the notes go? They've got a neat thing where Lisa is manning the documentation center the whole time. So you go to the documentation center and you can connect with Lisa via Zoom, hand off your notes, and she organizes it to make it in the book of proceedings that come out of an open space event. This is what the place looks like when they do it in person. So they try to make people feel at home online. Here's their notes guidelines and how they're structuring it. So out of days 1 and 2, there were 90 sessions, 70 deliver their notes, 20 are still needed. And then she has all the contact information for the people hosting sessions, and she will go out and make sure she gets them while they're still at the conference. That's the event they're having 3 days. So that's the general overview. I'm going to pause here just for an open discussion. And Heidi, who is the master facilitator that arranged this, and I've just provided the configuration possibilities on Keiko Chat, she's going to do a debrief from a facilitator's point of view in a week or 2 when the dust settles. So I'll stop there, and I'll take all questions you have. I first see a few questions here. We'll start from the top of the list. How secure is Keiko? Can you use this to replace Zoom? We use it in conjunction with Zoom. So it's as secure as Zoom is, plus there's a little bit more, because when you share a link to an event on Keiko on Twitter, a lot of the people that are trying to Zoom bomb are not even going to know about Keiko. So they're not even going to know that there's anything related to Zoom in there. The link that you share is a private circle. So this event exists in a circle. A circle is for a group of people. So you can have more than one event for a circle. So say the National Coalition for Dialogue and Deliberation, where I used to serve on the board. If it had a circle, it could have multiple events. It could be a public circle, so anyone can join those events. Or it could be a private circle. You could lock it down by email address. Or you could lock it down by who paid you on Eventbrite. Once people pay on Eventbrite, they immediately get RSVP'd into the event. They get an email invitation with instructions to sign up. And you could see that when we look at the number of people present here in the RSVP page, so many of them actually took the time to add a profile photo. So that process of inviting them through an email, letting them set their password, then inviting them to come to 4 different half-hour orientation sessions that were just social, kind of a happy hour, the week prior to this big event. And maybe we had about 30% of the people actually attend, so maybe about 100. And that's how we did it right in the space, so people felt comfortable in the space and they got all their questions answered and they were able to practice jumping between breakout rooms. The other question about how secure is Keiko? So that's the idea about circles. When you launch a meeting, we'll click help here. Every meeting comes with a password so that people cannot just randomly guess the Zoom link. That's how Zoom bombing happens. If it's a paid event, then it's very unlikely that someone's going to sabotage their own event. If it's a private event, if it's a public event, it's as secure as Zoom is, because you're going to be sharing the link to your public event somehow. So however secure Zoom is, Keiko is that plus a little bit more, because people are not looking for Keiko chat to Zoom bomb. They're looking for Zoom to Zoom bomb. So they're going to search.twitter.com and they're looking for a Zoom link like this. I'll click on latest, and so we can see some upcoming, here's a Zoom meeting that's happening soon, and you could jump into it because there's no password. Here's another one. So when you share a link to Keiko chat, instead, it's not the Zoom link. You're sharing the link to where the event is taking place, and then each of your rooms has a different Zoom meeting. So every one of these rooms has its own Zoom meeting. If I go down to say room 2, you'll see the notes on the right-hand side are going to just be the default blank, and then I've got join video for room 2. So it's a different Zoom meeting to jump into. Any follow-up questions on security there?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just put in there. I said I think so a lot of people I'm working with now, they're starting to not use Zoom because they're human rights groups, and it's about data security, not Zoom bombing.
Understood.
And so, I mean, because you're a software engineer, but it's funny because some like the European Commission allows Zoom, and the US government, USA doesn't. And so this is it's kind of turning into a big challenge now.
There's one tool.
Groups that were more open to it now aren't, and I don't know.
I will say, check out whereby.com, which is a tool that we will soon integrate here. The neat thing about whereby.com is that the video appears in the browser, whereas with Zoom, it's behind the web page like this. So the limitation here is that whereby.com costs more, and you can only get 50 people in a room. But we could still have all these different breakouts. So if we can also integrate with GoToMeeting, but so few people ask for that we don't make it publicly available. But work with us. I'm going to put my email address here at the bottom. And let's continue the conversation about security and other specifics that your clients have. What is open space? Is it a method? Thanks, new to this. So the quick overview of what is open space. Back up here, when you come to the opening circle, if you're new to open space, if you're new to the Internet Identity Workshop, even though they've been going on for 15 years, twice a year, there's always new people that come. So open space works like this. Everybody gathers for the first meeting, and you've got one facilitator that walks the circle and explains how it's going to go. There's a blank agenda wall in the back, and all the participants literally grab a piece of paper in the center of the room, write down the topic that they want to discuss, and they put it up on the agenda wall. That is the overview of the mechanics of how the topics get posted. There's some neat social dynamics that happen in an open space event, because the most critical thing is you give people the ability and the authority and the responsibility to get out of their chair if they're not contributing or learning, and they're just not enjoying themselves in that session. You give them permission to go to another session, and that freedom transforms them to start thinking that they have the responsibility and the privilege to leave without it being rude, to go to another session. And in case my internet is slow, maybe you missed a little bit of that. How did it come through?
Didn't.
It didn't?
Not the last
You
minute.
give permission
Just the end.
Yeah, you give permission to people to
get up and move to another session. And normally in life, it's considered rude to leave a meeting. But here it's encouraged so that they can contribute more and find something that is working out better for them. So that's generally open space. There's these laws and principles. Let's click on About Open Space that Heidi prepared. These are the 4 principles of open space. First, you issue the invitation. Usually it's about something urgent. And we say, we need to discuss this. You don't really have to describe that you're going to be using open space, but whomever comes are the right people. So you just issue the right compelling invitation, and then people come if they're called to it, if they're really interested in that topic. And you just try to relieve stress of people, and you say, whatever happens is the only thing that can happen. Whenever it starts is the right time. You know, if your session starts late, it's okay. It's okay. Whenever it's over, it's over. If it ends early, then just go with it. If it goes late, take it into the hallway. That's okay too. And then the law of 2 feet, which is what I described a little bit earlier, where you have it specifically, if you find yourself in any situation where you are neither learning nor contributing, respectfully get up and go somewhere that you will. So it's just giving people the ability and the authority to move themselves. And then they take more responsibility for being present when they can say, this is not for me, I want to be somewhere else. That's what I think the power of open spaces. It's about responsibility and passion. People come because they're passionate about the topic, and then they take responsibility for their own learning and their own contributing. It's great for community events. I'll stop there and take additional follow-up questions on anything I said there. Okay, next, maximum participation in the breakouts. Currently, you do not set maximum participation. A few people have been asking about it. It will eventually happen, so that eventually, when you get, say, 20 people, if you don't want more than 20 people in a room, this button won't be clickable anymore. But that is probably a few weeks away. The number of people that can be in a room joining Zoom is 300. If you need more than that, please let us know ahead of time, and we can put what's called the large meeting add-on from Zoom into any of your meetings. You can also use a webinar to connect to Zoom here. Did they replace Etherpad with a Google Sheet? Absolutely. They replaced Etherpad with all of these Google Sheets and Docs. So the first one for announcements is a Google Doc, kind of like a Word document. And then the agendas are like Excel documents. There are Google Sheets. And you can embed many different tools. You can embed Google Drawing. The common ones that people want to embed, which are not embeddable, are Mural and Miro, non-embeddable. We're working on a way to embed YouTube videos. So you can have multiple different tabs, but the tools that I recommend are Google Sheets, Google Docs, Google Drawings, also Google Presentations. If you need more space, encourage people to click this button here, hide breakouts, and then it'll take up the whole screen. So it's a little less busy. You can focus on the work and not the blinking of all the people moving. Okay.
Lucas, is that they set those tabs up themselves, or is that something you have to do for them to replace the Etherpad?
You can set it up yourself, and I will show a quick example of that.
Thank you.
So here we go. I'm going to go to move Zoom out of the way a little bit. And example, Google Doc. And example Post-its. So these are just some example docs that I had earlier. You simply take the link, copying it in your browser, and go over to the event where we are today. If you're the administrator, you can click Edit. Here's the title that I entered, the description, the start time, the basic things about an event. But we want more options to configure our breakout spaces here. So I can give these spaces names. We'll call this opening circle. We'll call it red room, blue room, green room, et cetera, et cetera. And here is where we're going to post the links. So for the main room, just paste the link. And that will be replacing the Google, that will be replacing Etherpad. And then if I want to take these drawings, I'll put them on line 2, and that will be for the next breakout space. So you just keep repeating for all the breakout spaces you want, just paste in the links there and click the green button. And then when you go back now, that's because I was in, I went to Heidi's event just recently. I'm gonna go back to, this is our event here, refresh the page. And there's our Google Doc. So as soon as someone refreshes the page, they'll see what you just embedded. And then in the second room, I put the Google Drawing. And this is neat for if you want something like Post-its. So anything you do in person with Post-its or dot voting, where you put all the Post-its, arrange them maybe on some axes of expensive to impact, things like that, 2-dimensional axis, or any other tool you want to use as facilitators. People are dragging the Post-its around. There's multiple people dragging at the same time. You can put dot voting on, so you can create a bunch of dots for them. And everybody gets 2 dots, and they can place those dots on the thing that they think is most important. So you might see multiple dots here on this one. And maybe this one only has one and this one has none. So you get the idea of what's important. Okay. And now my Etherpad is still there. It's just hidden by the Google Docs. So I'm going to go back to get it. I click edit and more options. And if I just put a blank line there, then the Etherpad is going to go here. So all the blank lines get filled in with an Etherpad. Click update. And it's the same Etherpad that was there before. Give it a moment. Hello, Barry. Welcome.
Greetings. How are you?
Oh, it's because I'm over here. I was in the red room. So there are notes that we had before. Do the Etherpads exist and have a persistent URL? Yes, they'll exist right here in Keiko chat. That's one of the advantages of after your Zoom meeting, your artifacts that you create together are still available and it's on your calendar so people can go back to it. But even flip it. You could say, are the Etherpads available before your event begins? Yes, so people can start collaborating even before your event begins. You get the conversation going. And there's other things you could do with those Etherpads. So you can download it. That'll be right here. Export as plain text. And you can also just go to that link. See at the bottom, it says open in a new tab, new window. That'll open the Etherpad in its own window if you want it to be separate. Okay, please let us know how to access the recording of this workshop. Everybody's going to receive it by email, and I'll also post it on the event's RSVP page. First, I'll upload it to YouTube. I'll get the link from YouTube, and I'll share it with everybody that came today, as long as you've registered with an email address. If you haven't registered with an email address, you can change and add an email address up here, so that's how I can reach you. Also, you can go back to the RSVP page for this event, where I'm going to post the YouTube video here later today. What has been your experience working with people that have limited tech skills? I think that if you have a compelling invitation that people are excited to discuss, they're going to get in and keep it as simple as possible. So that's why when you came here today, many of you haven't been to Keiko Chat before, but you all got on. And it's like we got over 20 people that joined video, and people are now very familiar with Zoom. So let them know, please install Zoom before you get here and come prepared to be surprised, as they say in open space. And people have been doing open space for decades. So there's so much experience in the community. If you want to learn about open space, we could put some open space resources down here. So I know there's a lot of skilled open space facilitators here. I'm going to say resources. And please go ahead and put any resources that you think you would like to share with other people on this call. The neat thing about seeing this live, why I wanted to open this up to folks, is that you can see people moving between the rooms. And see, you see them jumping. So the profile icons are jumping as soon as people change. And you get the sense of there's movement here, there's actual people. And that makes a big difference rather than just seeing the technology, to see that it's updating live. And as people start coming out of the opening circle, right now these folks are not on video because they probably opened up one of these other videos, but they might have this open in a second tab. Like I've got many tabs open, so profile icon will still be there. Okay, let me just pause and open it up for more questions.
Can we just ask?
Yes, thanks, Catherine.
Yeah, okay. So maybe I'm newer to this, and I mean, I've seen Keiko Chat mentioned in a lot of the on the lists, but I'm struggling to understand exactly what I can see. People can move from breakout rooms, right? You can see them. So this mobility issue is important. What else? How else does it facilitate or strengthen your ability to facilitate these spaces?
We provide the spaces, and the facilitators can determine what happens in them. So these can be open discussions that people choose the topic for when they posted it on the agenda, or you can have specific, you could pre-populate all of those rooms with a Google Doc that moves people along. I'll show an example of that.
And you can't, but you can do that in Zoom too, right?
In Zoom, you
No, I
cannot
mean, you can
attach,
pre-populate. I mean, well, you could click on a link, I guess, to get to your Google Doc.
once you get into a breakout room
Yeah.
in Zoom, there's no document there for you. You have to have
Right.
that document somewhere else. So Keiko Chat is a great way to manage all those documents, to
Okay.
let people collaborate before the event begins, and also to
Okay.
move themselves. With Zoom, people can move themselves between breakouts if they're co-host, but
Right.
you don't want to make everybody co-host in a public event for security reasons.
Right. Right.
Here's an event where they had 100 breakout rooms, and they gave them each something to work on when they got
Mhm.
there. This was how can political organizers adapt for a world with social distancing. It's a
Mhm.
grassroots organization that scheduled it.
Mhm.
And so they had hundreds of people coming. So they had this question, how do we do phone banks in the time of coronavirus? How do we do protests? How do we door-to-door based canvassing? And these 8 topics, or 9, is it 8 topics? They get repeated down here so that people can move themselves into phone banks down
see.
here if you've already
Yeah.
got too many people up there. And it takes up to 20 seconds for the icon to update when there's a large number
I
of
see.
people on the site
So,
right now.
so that makes sense. So my last question is that would relate to this is, so you could use this with Jitsi or with Whereby and then be able to use breakout rooms.
Yes, I could show you an
So-
example of Jitsi.
Because then you'd have the security, then because a lot of groups will use Jitsi, but they won't use Zoom, but then they don't have breakout groups or it's really unwieldy. But this would allow you to do that.
Yes, this can stitch together. Every
Okay.
one of these can have a Jitsi breakout room. That's something that I can demo for you here, but it's not publicly released. We did our first public test with about a dozen facilitators earlier this week.
Oh, I think I saw that, yeah.
And while I'm here, I wanted to answer your question about, so look how they put, I'm going to click hide breakouts just to give this full screen, but this is the
Ooh.
exercise that they gave their people at all 100 breakouts to work on. So grab a Post-it and plot it on more impact versus more risk to public health. And then they aggregated all those documents. The neat thing is you can see them all when you show breakouts. If you want to see all 100 at the same time, click on admin controls and view all breakout notes, and then it'll load 100 Google Docs for you. It'll take a while, but
Great. That's
so
great.
you can kind of see what's happening live now across all your documents, whereas that wouldn't be possible with you'd have to have 100 different tabs. So
Yeah.
here's the main room, and breakout 1 is loading. But I agree. Use the fewest number of tools as possible. So if you could do your event in just Zoom, do it in just Zoom. But when you add on Keiko, it's 60 cents per hour per person, which is less than the price of parking. And you don't even have to pay for an in-person meeting space. So it's definitely worth people's time, but people also expect free tools online. So you have to, sometimes people don't want to pay, but for the Internet Identity Workshop, these tickets here, I'll close this one since it's going, well, I guess it's fine. The ticket prices were up to $450. So
No, and it's work to set it up. I mean, without a doubt, I can understand why
Exactly.
it's, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't doubt that. I think particularly for events that there's a lot of time, that the stakes are higher and there's time going into it and, you have a certain expectations.
And I think there's a lot of meetings where you didn't plan that you needed breakouts, and then you could just like, okay, what are the topics? Let me take the topics and post them. With Keiko, it's easy to set those topics. So I could do that here. I could take all of the questions that folks have and just grab them here and go to admin controls and set the topics for the breakout rooms. And then I'm gonna make this one shorter and click save. And then there's your breakout topics, and people could just head on in there and start chatting away. Once you go in there, you just click the green button at the top after you get there, and then you're in Zoom. Or I could show you Jitsi too, which will be released in the next 2 weeks.
That's great.
Additional questions, the floor is open.
Lucas, so just curious. So let's say that if I wanted to experiment with this with a client or convince a client that this is worth experimenting with, I can see right now that I'd need all kinds of help from Lucas to get this off the ground. How's that work?
Okay, well, I want to make it so you don't need help from me, because then many more people can use Keiko. But at this stage, I'm providing a lot of help for people that request it. So go to learn.keikochat.com/events. We have free trainings every week. So starting on, we already had one that lasted an hour and a half right before this call. It's open and free. So I've got open office hours for half an hour, and I'll stay longer if there's more people have questions. I got 2 on Monday. And then a free training, 45 minutes, intro to Keiko Chat on Wednesday, then an advanced training Wednesday. So try to make these open, just like what we're doing here, but with just general Keiko Chat questions and answers. And we try to make the self-serve too. So here's the free training we just came off of. And I'm gonna click here and grab all these helpful links that we shared in that training and paste them into this event here so you have them too. I'll take those, I'm gonna close this event and go into today's event over here and just paste them down here. So you can access those. So what's there? Well, there's our homepage. You can create a test event at no charge in our demo circle. You can create a new, that's a little hard to read. So let me take off the colors. Click this button here. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can read it too. All right, our Keiko Chat homepage. You can create your own test event at this link in our demo circle. You can create a new circle of your own. So a circle, again, is a container for tools that you share among a group of people. A circle is your group of people. So your circle has a calendar. It has a weekly newsletter that says, here's what's coming up on the calendar for the next 3 weeks. It has a document library, it has written conversations. Those are turned off by default because not a lot of people need them. It's got a neat thing called the gardens, which is, this is complex, but it's powerful. If you want simple and powerful, I'll show you the gardens. Now we'll do that next. Then here's all the upcoming trainings and Keiko user guide. This is kind of marketing brochure, my contact info, join a Google group, ask a question. There's a whole bunch of international facilitators using Keiko, and they're very generous with their ideas. One of them set that up actually, and I think it's been fantastic. Then you can join the Liberating Structures community on Keiko Chat. There's a dialogue circle. So if you want to host a discussion about something related to dialogue facilitation in general, just post it in this circle and other dialogue facilitators will find out about it. They're in their weekly newsletter. See the number of people that are in here. It's 917 dialogue facilitators. So if you just say, I want to learn Keiko, then post it as an event and they'll find out about it. And it's meant for experimentation and testing and collaboration. We are translating Keiko into more languages. Some folks were very generous with putting that into about 5 or 6 languages now. And so I'm doing the work to get that to be visible. And someone had requested some suggestions for live chat tools. Okay, any additional questions? I'm here for as long as you need me to answer questions.
Hey, Lucas. Oh,
Yes.
hi, it's Abby. How are you?
Hi, Abby.
Hey, I opened the link of the flyover event, and it has on the left-hand side, it has, I guess, breakouts, and then some content of people and questions. And then there's a chat box on the right-hand side, which is obscuring the content behind it.
Oh, okay. So this chat box here, if you're zoomed in a lot, the X button is visible. So try Control minus
Got it.
or
Got it.
zoom out, and you'll find that.
Got it. I'm sorry, I joined a little late. Did you give a tour of the page in terms of what's there on the left and the right?
I did, and we have a recording, so you'll receive the recording. Generally, these are all of the breakout rooms, and you could set the topic. So I just took all the questions that people had, and as an example, I copied them. I went to admin controls, set topics for breakouts, and just pasted them in. And then now people can break out and talk about those as an example, although we're answering all the questions in the main room. And so this is a way you could do an open.
Did people is this like open space? Were people able to choose the topic, the breakout that they wanted to go to based on the topic?
Exactly. Click on Blue Room over here, and then you have a new video button, Join Video for Blue Room. And what we really came to talk about today was this open space event, which is totally decked out with multiple Google Docs, 3 days of agendas, about open space, announcements, a documentation center that is staffed with a professional that's got a PhD in organizing. Then there's even, I mean, it's like how many layers of complexity do you want to add? You can keep going. And the key is knowing when to stop. And this has been working out very well for their organization. I heard a great comment last night that because it's online and because of the format, they have many more diverse voices because it was actually more affordable than traveling all the way to Palo Alto to be there in person. And they also have this garden space, which because this group is very familiar with open space, I did not hesitate in saying, yeah, I think adding the gardens on there is a great idea, but you could do an open space just in the gardens. And there's a group of 100 Italian facilitators that do this every Saturday morning. And in their gardens, they don't have any sponsors, but each garden has a Zoom link. So you land in the garden, it's very simple. There's no Google Doc, nothing to get confused by. It's just click this giant green button to join the video. Once you join the video, you're connected to Zoom. And you scroll down and you'll see there's all these other gardens to join. And that group of facilitators will just populate their topics right here. And you just click enter. So I'll enter this garden right here for Canada. And then click join video. And I'm gonna be in that Zoom video now. And I can set the topic. So it's similar to open space in that you've got a bunch of spaces where people choose the topic. The only difference is here there's no past and no future. It's just the present. What are we talking about right now? So we try to even compress it in complexity into what's happening right now, what are people talking about, and if our topic starts changing, we can change the topic and other people can join us or leave us as the topic goes. So it's related to open space. It's not open space, but it has many of the same principles.
And is this thing in the background, is this the Zoom flyover? The flyover is different from this gardens event.
That's correct. So here we're looking at, this is called the gardens. Every circle has the gardens. They have their own gardens and they can customize it. So you can make it look like different coffee shops or different rooms in an actual building. If this was your company, you could have the kitchen, the cafeteria, the water cooler, and you customize the photo and the branding. I am only showing the gardens because people were asking about more things about Keiko Chat in general. So when I said flyover, I just meant these people are meeting here real time. They're jumping between breakout rooms. We're not listening to their conversation, but you can see them. You could see who is where, and you could see that it's pretty neat when a space is populated with people and you can see them jumping around, especially when they're coming out of the opening. It just gives you a sense that the tool is inhabited with live people that are here because they're passionate about a topic, and that's what's so exciting.
So are we on this call welcome to join this open space workshop?
We are not welcome because the tickets were up to $450. So they would prefer that people join on day one because they want a sense of community that grows. And that's why they've been able to do it 30 times in 15 years. Yes, Francois.
Yes. We can see we can see the this particular open space workshop or in a shared view. Will it be possible for us to later on go and see this again, but obviously not going to the live one because we don't want to interfere with it, but still be able to see what we can see now in live stream? And the reason I'm asking is, one, as a reference point to give us ideas and in terms of all the possibilities, and secondly because it's also something we can then show potential clients the kind of possibilities that this engenders, which is much more lively than just an empty space, lots of empty spaces.
I expect the answer will be yes, but it is Heidi's space. She's the facilitator who designed it, and I asked her permission today to do this flyover. She's very generous. I expect she'll say yes, but there might be reasons why. This is a public event and all the notes are public, so I just think the answer will be yes. I don't know what she's going to do with the space, whether she'll shut it down or keep it up. So we will find out. And there will be another call where we will have Heidi give her orientation about why she designed it different ways. I want to just show how in-depth all the notes are for these sessions. And these are very technical topics. So they did not have that session yet, but people get in here, and when you give them a Google Doc where they all can edit, then you get quite a lot of notes. All these notes will be compiled into a book of proceedings that is a normal functionality of coming out of an open space event. So Francois, I'm gonna write that down and I will return with the answer when the dust settles with Heidi's event. Any other questions? Absolutely.
Michael Patrick here.
Yes, Michael.
And this is like, we use this at the Democracy Lab hackathon, but in the progress of doing our project, I didn't have a lot of time to spend. First, my compliments. I've looked at these tools for decades and you've done a really awesome job here. One of my, in rapid learning, like at the hackathons, getting a bunch of people that know different tools, etc., up to speed and comfortable. In my background here is like what I call a crib sheet, like, here's the first button you push, the second button you push, the third, so that people could explore really quick, from a static image that kind of gives them
I love it.
Fast walkthrough. I use this all the time doing enterprise work, and it reduces my service or it helps me deliver a lot. So we should explore that at some point, because I'm obviously gonna have to spend some time with this tool, so I might as well do that along the way.
Great suggestion, Michael. I appreciate it. You have my email address now in the notes. I look forward to connecting.
Thank you.
This makes me think about, how do you manage tech support for a large conference? So just sharing briefly, so we automated this from sign in and pay with Eventbrite. You get an account created on Keiko, you get RSVP'd for the event, then an email invitation, which says, welcome, please set your password. You come in, you set your password, and then you're immediately brought into a place where you can upload a profile photo and describe anything about you that you'd like. And then from there, click save, and now you arrive on the landing page for the event, which has the sponsors, we call it the RSVP page. And so you can immediately see there's a lot of people registered, there's credibility from these sponsors. You could see how many people are present. You're like, oh, that's interesting. I can see that I'm here and there's 3 other people, maybe someone's on video.
Lucas, was that a Keiko chat account that they have to create?
They sign up on Eventbrite, and then we automatically create the account for them and then send them an email invitation to set their password.
To sign in. Okay.
And then when they sign in, the next thing is they upload a profile photo. It does cost a little bit of our time to set up that Eventbrite integration. We have shared the instructions for how you could do it. And it's actually in the event. When you're creating the event, it says Eventbrite integration, click here. You could do it on your own, but if you need our help, we can help too. Some people are gonna have tech problems. What is an example of a tech problem? Well, when we send the email invitation, some law firms here block Keiko chat for whatever reason. And we're a small company, nobody knows about us yet. So we would get an email that says, I never received the invitation. So we have to manually confirm that person's email. Because we had to do that maybe 15, 20 times for 300 people, we're now coming up with a new way where they can proactively email us to prove that they own that email address. And then we just take ourselves out of that tech support loop. But other people are going to have some question. Like, for example, someone called this morning and said, I changed my email address. I don't have access anymore. And that makes sense because we give access based on email addresses. So now we had to get in and adjust access to the event for that person's new email address. So there's a little bit of tech support that is necessary from time to time, but you don't need us to do that. You just go into the event, add the new email address, and it's all set. But this is the key lesson learned. It was, don't try to receive all the phone calls one-on-one to deal with anyone's problems. Instead, create one Zoom room where people can just call in or use Zoom directly outside of Keiko, so there's no interference. They come in and they say, here's my problem. And then maybe there's 4 people and you're not making them wait. They're there with someone, they're on video, their anxiety level's down, and you're doing it before the event begins. You're holding, if it's a very important event like this that people pay hundreds of dollars for, then half-hour sessions a few days beforehand, invite them to one. It's just an orientation session, a happy hour. Do it right in the same event space so people can feel comfortable there. So I know some people might have to drop off the call. You're very welcome to do that. You've got the links. You're going to receive the recording. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to answer any questions you have while we're all on the call together.
I added a couple questions to the Etherpad, Lucas.
Great. Let me go take a look. Jumping up to opening circle. Is the Keiko chat cost the same for those who already have Zoom subscription? The answer is yes right now. However, we are creating another option where you can use your own Zoom account and Jitsi breakout rooms. I should show Jitsi since there was a previous question about it. We make money when you use the event. It's 60 cents per hour per person, prorated by the minute. That's a penny per minute per person. Zoom charges us half of that. So that's where we make our margin. For open source events, community events that are not making any money at all, we can reduce that cost and work with you. We also give you the ability on those events where you're not making any money to save us costs. So we let you put in your own Zoom meeting. And then Zoom doesn't bill us for your minutes. You're paying $15 or $19 a month for your Zoom subscription. For private events, there's $1 per person fee in addition. And for private circles, $1 per month additional fee. That's explained on the Keiko chat homepage at the bottom. So how much does it cost for 100 people? Let's say, first I think about it per person. So it's 60 cents, 0.6 times, let's say a 4-hour event, it equals $2.40 per person for the whole event. If it's a private event, add $1. So costs are very reasonable for a half-day workshop that people might be paying $200 for to you. Okay. Next question about the breakouts here. Say you have an event with a set of breakouts in the morning and another in a set later in the day. Do you have to leave the morning breakouts to replace with a new set? Here we are in Heidi's event, and we're reusing, this is what I would recommend, reuse the same spaces. So you have maybe a 5-minute, 10-minute break, whatever you need. Then people start coming into breakout space B or A or C. And then you start to realize people are joining your Zoom calls. You're so engrossed in the conversation, you realize, oh, it's time for the next session to begin. Now, if you need to take the conversation elsewhere, you can take it, say, down at the bottom. You can put some additional hallways, or you can have the gardens linked at the top. There's a lot of different options. I think the simplest thing is just having some additional spaces for overflow at the very bottom. So it's going to be the same Zoom meeting, and it's not closed. People can stay in for 24 hours. People come in, they cycle through, and the next conversation begins according to your schedule. I'm gonna move Zoom out of the way to see the rest of the question here. If you change the name of Breakout, does that close the existing one, start the new one? No. When you change these names, it just is shown here on Keiko Chat. It does not affect the Zoom meeting. The Zoom meeting stays open if people are in there. And the next time someone goes in there, it's going to be the same Zoom meeting with the same meeting ID and password. If you need to change the password for any reason, you click Edit, and there's a way to update your Zoom password for all your meetings. All of your Zoom rooms have the same meeting password. Does anyone have any experience managing code of conduct, reporting via Keiko Chat, posting where to go for code of conduct issues? So one interesting thing in this discussion, one of their sessions was a code of conduct for their community. So because we serve communities, we assume that communities have their own norms. So you post your norms, you post your code of conduct right here in the event, or you'd post it, if you just want to keep it simple and not multiple tabs, you post it right in your event. Did that answer the question?
Yeah,
Go ahead,
thank
Abby.
you.
Okay, you're welcome, Michelle. Abby.
Lucas, I'm in my browser, I'm on the Zoom flyover, and I see the different rooms. And when I click there, you know, I see a blank page that says, you know, welcome and so forth. But there's nobody else there at the moment in terms of the breakout.
Yes.
Can you explain that piece?
There's nobody there right now because everybody is in the main circle with us.
Yeah.
And so if you have a schedule that says, this is a 3-hour event, 30 minutes for the opening, and then we're going to have 2 1-hour discussion rounds, that's the time that people would go into the breakouts. You'd have one person stay in the opening circle for any latecomers, because that's where everybody's going to show up, answer the questions, and orient them. So right now, there's just nobody there. And
what is it that you as hosts need to do to enable the people to go into the rooms?
absolutely nothing.
So what I don't get is, you know, I clicked on the red room, there I am. If someone else comes, will our cameras be in the red room?
I understand your question. Click on the button at the top that will, for you, it says join video for red room. And I'll go ahead and walk through. So I'm not going to do it because I'll lose everybody in the main room, but I click on red room and then the page changes and now it says join video for red room, and you're going to see blank notes over here.
Fabulous. So any of us on the call at the moment, we could be going into these breakouts.
That's right. And I'm going to stop here. I have to go to the next meeting, but the meeting is not going to end. So you can continue discussing here. My contact information is in the chat, in the Etherpad, and I'm at lucas@keikochat.com, 917-528-1831. And we've got trainings every week at learn.keikochat.com/events. I wish I could stay and answer the rest of the question. I'm very sorry. I have to get to the next event.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Hope you have a great day.
Thank you.